Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel Art Sphere. So this is the episode 2 of the Artist podcast, and today our guest of honor is Louis, all the way from North Carolina, and he'll be sharing his artistic experience with us and the academic training that he has undergone through in Florence. Because I really like classical training of art, and I really want to pursue that as compared to art college. I look up to academic training. It's very different from art college. In academic training is basically about the classical training, how the masters used to study. In that sense, they are going to master each and every move of your hand while working, and that's the main thing. Louis has explained it in a better way because he has, of course, undergone through the process of academic training. So he'll be a better person to explain the whole thing. So please watch this podcast till the end. You're going to learn a lot of stuff in an entertaining way, in a funny way. He's been hilarious, and yes, I personally really enjoyed recording this one, and I hope you all do enjoy as well. And all the social media links of Luis's Instagram, his YouTube, his website will be in the description, and even my social media links will be in the description. Follow them and subscribe to both our channels if you like our work. So let's begin. Hello, Louise. So can you give a quick introduction about yourself?
Vanshika, my name is Louis Guidetti, and I'm a classical realist painter, fine art painter, oil painter. And I just recently started YouTube about 1 year ago, and really love what I do and like making people laugh and teaching about painting. And I'm very happy and pleased that you asked me on your podcast. It's really awesome. It's my first podcast I've been on, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Your artistic career began. Can you please tell us something about that?
Yeah, school, I would just doodle a whole lot. I would draw in school, and I just I could always focus better that way. And I never really thought that I would go into uh, the arts at all. I wanted to be a doctor at one point, and perhaps that was a better career choice. No, art's wonderful, but I wanted to be a doctor originally, and then took a trip to Florence, Italy when I was just out of the 10th grade. So I think, about 17 years old or so. We went over to Italy, and I just loved the art. And I got the Ninja Turtle books, which is Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael, the artists, and started drawing from them. And just copied them all through 11th grade, 12th grade, and then I decided I want to go over to Florence, Italy to study. And that kind of started it. And there I found the Florence Academy after a year of study, after a year of being over there. So yeah.
So you have had an academic experience in painting. So can you please tell us something about the how did it happen and what was happening there in Florence? Because it's my dream to go to Florence as well. Like I'm like really interested in classical painting. So even I am trying to pursue that. So please tell us something about
Good. You
that.
definitely should. If you want to do it, go for it. Yeah. So like I said, I went over right fresh out of high school, and I went to the Lorenzo de' Medici School of Art in Florence, Italy at first, which it was it was more abstract and just lots of busy work, and express yourself, and it doesn't matter the technique as long as you put your heart into it, which is BS. Don't listen to that. All right, I don't care what they say. You have to know how to, you have to know the rules, or the structure of art. You have to know the language to make something good, and then you can put the expression in afterwards. And so I was there. But the good thing about being over at the Florence Academy, or I'm sorry, at Lorenzo de' Medici School of Art, is I would go out on my own and just draw from the statues in the city. So I found the Florence Academy of Art. Actually, my mom did, and that's another story altogether. She found it. She ran into somebody at home, and back here in North Carolina, where I'm from, and they mentioned it to her, and it turned out to be 2 blocks from where I lived, but the opposite direction from the center of the city. I was like, well, there's nothing outside the center of the city. It's all in the center, which is also a misconception. And anyway, I found the school, and they basically said, look, this isn't an art school really. It's to teach you how to, uh, you know, the language and just the scientific method of drawing, right? Just looking, observing, and being able to translate what you see accurately onto the paper canvas. And you draw for a year, and which they made me draw for 2 years before painting because I was a pretty slow learner. And a lot of people were. They did their job. They made sure that you knew what you were doing before you went to painting. And so it was a very structured, and it was fun. It's not, I think one of the misconceptions of academic work is that it's all cold and dead and everybody's, very stingy with it and there's no expression, this and that, and it all looks the same. And that's not true. I ran into the funniest people and the most, like every person they were very capable people. Don't get me wrong. Right. Uh, you got the impression that they could be anything they wanted to be. They were very highly intelligent, but also they were characters in their own way. And it was very fun and interesting. And all the work, even though it was very accurate, especially in the third and fourth year of study, which is about what they recommend. They recommend 3 years, but really 4 to 8 years is ideal. But around the third year, fourth year mark, everybody's work was very accurate, but it all looked a little bit different because everybody had a different touch, a slightly different style, but it was all within the ballpark. So it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. It was hard work, but it's worth it. And there were times when I was thinking, I'm not going to make it, or I'm horrible, and maybe this isn't for me, and but you overcome that and keep
Yes,
going,
absolutely.
and yeah, that's good.
So anything that you would want to share about your academic experience that you like always keep in mind while painting, like something that you have learned from?
Yeah. There's a lot of things. It teaches you about life experience, because I think when you have to do something every day and the teachers come up and say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, like it's always wrong. But they're like, but if you do this, it'll still be wrong, but it'll be closer. What it does, it shakes you to the core kind of like over time. And so you learn life lessons. And one of those is, no matter how down, and this is like, this sounds so corny and cliche, but no matter how down you are, or if you think it's impossible, or if you can't do it, if you stick with it and don't get emotional and just really um, look at it rationally and break it down A, B, C, D, and try it every different way. In other words, if you don't give up, you can succeed in what you do. You'll be amazed at what you can do, uh, because, and I'll give you an example. In my second year of study, I think it was the second year. It was the end of the second year, and like I said, the school said, they told me in the beginning, you'll draw for 1 year. But in the end of the second year, I was still drawing. They did not move me on to painting because I was having issues with drawing. And I remember there was this one portrait that I was painting, and the way it is we have a live portrait model, and you set the portrait model up on a model stand, and then you have you have two people, one on one side, one on the other side, walking back and forth and drawing that model. And so we're doing charcoal drawings about, you know, pretty much life-size charcoal drawings of this gentleman. Mine, after 8 weeks or something, looked horrendous. It was so bad. I was like, what have I been doing here? I'm in a different country. I have been working, like, I've done good work. But now all of a sudden my work's like, I really thought I was mentally disabled. I'm not kidding. My brain was just so tired though, and I didn't notice that. It was just, you just get tired, and uh, your mind starts going. But also when you're trying to take in new information that's foreign to you, and you're really trying to do what the teachers say, sometimes your work is not going up, it goes down. And that's what was happening with me, but I didn't know that. And so at one point I took this drawing off and I threw it in the trash. Now this is 8 weeks of work. I was like, screw this. Just threw it in the trash. And my friend Andrea Fauci, she was working right next to me, and she's like, she saved the drawing, number one, and she came to me and she said, Louis, I understand it's frustrating, but if you what you need to learn to do is look at it, and there's a reason why it's wrong, a technical reason, not because you're stupid, but because you didn't do this right. You might be that you just need to go back to the basics, unify the drawing. It might mean you need to unify the light, because a good drawing has a nice unified flow of light, right? It's not splotchy and like dark all over here and then very light, 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 light. There's a nice unified flow of light. Maybe you need to go back through and block it and just, you know, redo the foundation. Or maybe you just need to loosen up and just start going in and getting the smaller shapes, namely detailing it. You need to figure out rationally what it is you need to do. If you can identify it, then there's a path forward. And so at that point, I started doing that, and it turned out to be one of the better drawings that I've done. And so that it went from a place of me thinking that I could not do it to a place where, and I'm talking about 8 weeks of work. You're working on this 3 hours a day, 5 days out of the week. That's a lot of work. And I threw it in the trash, and then she salvaged it and reasoned with me. And I learned that I was too tight, and I started going, like, all of a sudden I could see things. And it's also worth noting, she was beside me, not doing a drawing. She was doing a painting, and all the teachers, like, and she came in the same time as me. And I was happy for her, but I was like, I should be painting. And here she is painting. I can't even paint. She came in the same time as me, and the teachers are going up praising her for this work. And like, here I am stuck doing a charcoal drawing. It was absolutely amazing. But I overcame that and continued to progress. And sometimes it's just what it takes. And so anything you do in life, you can I remember that. I remember how in despair I was over that drawing. And and you and we can apply this type of stuff to our video work, our channels, right? It gets hard, and you're like,
Yes, yeah.
well, there is a path. People have done it. It's just going to require hard work, but we need to also assess what we're doing, and if that doesn't work, try something else, and maybe it's consistency. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so I hope that made some sense.
Yes, 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 absolutely. I agree.
Good.
Consistency is the key, because academic training can be frustrating a lot of
Oh
times
yeah.
because
Yeah.
there are a lot of people around you who are doing amazing, like your
Oh
friend,
yeah.
and your work is not that good sometimes,
Oh.
but you need to work on that.
Exactly. And I think it's very important to um people say that there's competition. I didn't feel it when I was there. And I think some people, they did feel the competition. I didn't feel it. I you're always going to be jealous of somebody. I have found that if you root those people on, if you want the best for them and really get happy for the times when they have success, and just say, dude, that is awesome what you've done, it makes it so much easier, because nobody knows everything, right? And I think the reason why I bring that up, that's an important mentality going into an academy, because you're going to learn more that way. You're not going to have that pride that's blocking you from learning. You're not going to have that selfishness inside that's going to make it personal. You're going to just be more practical and common sense, and you're going to be happy for the people who are doing better than you. And for those who want to go into academic work, and like yourself, I would just say,
Yes.
go for it, and do not get discouraged if you think you can't do it. Just be receptive to the teachings and try to do the teachings. Don't fall into the habits that you formed right now that might feel comfortable to do. It might make your work look better in the beginning, but in the end, if you listen to the teachers, your work's going to be 1,000 times better. And there were countless examples of that all over the school. Some people would come in and they'd kind of argue with the teachers and say, but my drawing looks better when I do this right now. They say, yeah, but to our eyes, number one, it doesn't look good. To your eye, it might, but we know how it can look in a year if you drop this style of drawing, for example. And so just being
Absolutely.
just humble and have patience with yourself. You're going to feel you know, like I always felt like I'm 6 feet tall and I felt like I had to be 10, right? I was constantly reaching, and you know what? It's frustrating, but that's a good position to be in. You're around people who are
Yes.
better than you. You don't want to be around people who aren't better than you. That's
Yes,
a big
exactly.
deal.
I feel this is also like a difference between art school and the academic training or the academies that are there in Florence. That in art school, teachers are going to be like, it's fine, you are expressing. But in academic training, the teachers are, like harsh on the students, but that's good, of course, in the
Yeah,
longer run.
this is so true. I have a funny story about that. At the Lorenzo de' Medici School of Art, which the art program I didn't like, but they had a good restoration program. They had other good classes like art history; those were good. But the art program, it was just like preschool time for college kids. It's like, really? I mean, you don't want to, Anyway, but I remember when I started when I found the Florence Academy of Art and I was talking it over with the teachers at the Lorenzo de' Medici School of Art, they're like, look, I could draw photorealistically since the age of 8, which is BS. Never listen to somebody if they say that, okay? They couldn't. They couldn't even draw that well, and this person was, in their 40s. Anyway, uh, they said you don't want to go into that. It's going to kill your expression. It's going to do this. They said, look, for example, and we were doing this model drawing of of a woman. It was a nude figure study, and actually it might have been a painting. Anyway, so everybody did paintings, and I was trying to do it realistically and such. And as were quite a few people in the class, and this one guy Juan was doing it, and the head was like huge on it, huge, and which is okay. I'm not bashing him, okay. But the teacher comes up and says, Louis, look how expressive Juan's painting is right here. You see how he made the head 5 times the size it should be? He's like, I did. He didn't even know. She's like, that's so expressive. I was like, he didn't even mean to, you know. And Juan would come up to me and be like, how did you do this? Not that I was great. I wasn't. I was slightly ahead because that was what I was always into. I had been copying, like I said, the old master drawings for a couple of years. And so it put me a little bit ahead of some of the people in the class. And so they would come and talk to me and ask me questions instead of the teachers because they wanted to do more realistic stuff. And the teachers were trying to say, no, be expressive. And the problem with that is you're going to, especially in universities today, and, for anybody who teaches at a university, I mean no disrespect, but the truth is that oftentimes they just slam you with giant tuitions. You get in debt, 50 grand in debt, and you come out, you have a degree, but you can't draw and you can't paint. And that's not good. Like, I'd rather not have a degree, but be able to draw and paint. And I mean, it'd be great to have both, but to be honest with you, you need to learn your craft, whatever you're going into. That's what people care about. When I get commissions, people don't say, "What's your degree?" They don't do that. They're like,
Absolutely.
"Yeah, if it's good, yeah, we want this good." And if I have to give them what they want. You have to be able to do that.
Yes.
So,
I feel people have made a huge deal out of degree. Like, people do not
oh
ask
yeah,
you what's your degree. They just look at your skills first.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They just look at the skills, and that's what you're supposed to. You have to look at the skills. Exactly.
Yes, true. So before we talk more about painting and
Of course.
drawing, so I just want you to talk about your YouTube channel. Like,
Yeah.
it's amazing,
Oh,
it's
thank you.
interesting, it's entertaining. I just love it.
Thank you.
So there are like you have a concept of two characters. First of
Oh,
all, I want you to
I
explain
multiplied
those.
myself the last video. Like there's four or five of me now, but um, so you want the concept of that?
Yes, how did you come up with this idea? Because I've never seen these kind of videos like related to art, like other people have it, but in the art community, nobody has made something like this.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. I'll try to tell you the progression. But first off, let me just say that I'm weird. I acknowledge this. Okay. And you know what? For many years, I tried to hide this weirdness. And when you hide the weirdness, it gets weird, but in a weird way. And you don't want to do that. I don't recommend that. If you're weird, just don't try to hide
Stay
it.
weird.
Right. Just you have to, that's who you are. And I'm like, look, I'm not one of these people who's like, it doesn't matter, just be who you are. I mean, within reason. Okay. You have to be civil. Having said that, I was watching I was doing a lot of studying of YouTube um, before I started this, and this was before the pandemic and all that stuff. I was considering doing this video work for some time, and I was watching Sean Cannell, like Think Media. He has very good information on how to grow a YouTube channel and such, and I think Marketing had a podcast on where Awaken with JP, that guy with the orange hair. I don't know if you know him. He's really funny. He does these very sarcastic videos. He's hilarious. He's a funny guy.
I'm
Um,
definitely gonna search him up.
you should look him up.
Yeah.
He's hilarious. He's hilarious with the stuff he does. Like, just to give you an idea, he one time said, um, what if meat eaters were as obnoxious as like vegetarians were, and they like tried to guilt people into just eating meat,
Yep.
and just he would reverse. He's a funny guy, and he was being interviewed on the Think Marketing podcast, and one of the things he said was embrace the weird. And I was actually on the deck smoking a cigar, trying to be kind of normal, and I was like, yes, that's all I need to hear. Embrace the weird. So I said, that's the thing, because I think I forget if I had started at this time, but I start like the first 5 or 6 or 7 videos are kind of serious, where I'm trying to have a personality, sense of humor and such. But when you get a camera on you, your face just goes blank. It goes blank. Or I'm sorry, your face, your mind, and your face, but
Yeah.
mind, you're just like, you forget what you're going to say, and it's frustrating. And so you just say, okay, I just need to get stuff out, just get past this. First 5 or 6, it was kind of bland. And then I started saying, you know what? The good thing about nobody watching this right now is I feel like I can do whatever I want. Now, I'm going to keep that mentality as my channel grows, because
Yeah.
I think you don't want to, you want to be unique. And if people don't like it, that's okay. Other people will. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But I also, at the same time, Peter McKinnon, I was just looking up techniques and stuff. And one of the things, he multiplied himself. He would have a conversation with himself. And so I looked into how he did that. He described it at one point, a masking technique. And there's also the green screen technique, which I'm going to start utilizing right now, because green screens, you can get one for relatively cheap for the use you'll get out of it. And I don't remember exactly what I was thinking when I did the first one, but I just said, I think I just wanted to try this, and because I wanted to be down to earth. I didn't want it to be all just weird and like you can't relate to the person. But at the same time, there's that genius who's, just like, peasants, allow me to, whatever, and just goes off and just is totally obnoxious and just so full of himself. But then you have the reasonable me talking to him like, gosh, this guy's ridiculous, and so it's kind of, from there it just grew, I guess. But I need to get the information. Like right now, I need to get the information out clear, because I still want them to get informational value out of it, but keep it that funny. And that's something that's very difficult right now. And I'm backed up with one commission, which I should be done with this week, I'm hoping. And then I'm going to get to my next video because it's the first time it's been a lull that I haven't had a video out, and which is okay. Sometimes you have to step back to jump forward. So,
Yes, yes, absolutely.
yeah.
I'm waiting for that video to come out. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be on figure drawing, and I'm using myself as a model and
Oh.
guy with the long hair. So that's a little spoiler. It should be good. I hope it's good.
Absolutely.
It might not be good, but I'm going to try and make it good. You never
No,
know.
it will be. You just need to like trust yourself. It is going to be good.
Yeah, I trust myself maybe 20% of the time, and then the rest of the time I just wing it. It turns out okay. I
Yes,
have to.
yes.
The thing is, I have a studio mate, Rose, and she oftentimes she'll say you can't do that, and I'll be like, okay. If she's not in the studio, I do stupid stuff, and I have to be stopped sometimes. My filtering system is getting better, but I have to be careful. I could go too far with it, so I won't tell you what that might look like. I just need to be careful.
All right. So, how do you approach a painting? Like, first, I want you to tell us about the oil portraits that you
Right.
do.
Right. What was the first question? How do I what the painting?
How do you approach a painting?
Approach the painting.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. I'm
Yeah.
okay. Um, that's not you. You speak much better English than I speak, you know, which I can't speak.
My God.
So
Thank you for the
yeah, you speak
compliment.
very good English. You do.
Thank you.
So my approach is basically I just wing it. Kidding. What I do is if it's a commission piece, obviously I figure out what they want, you know, if they want a background, if they want how colorful they want it, what have you. Oftentimes I'll start with a pencil sketch, and I'll do a couple pencil sketches in different positions of the figure subject. And I won't go off photographs unless there's no choice. It's always best to go off real life, because in real life, if you don't understand some anatomical point, you can walk up and look around the model, and that will show in the work. It'll be a better painting in general in the end. Also, sometimes the model will have the person who's posing will have a certain expression on their face that you might like, and it might just pop up when they're being pensive, and you can get that in the painting. Whereas if you take a photograph, it's like that's what it is, and it might not be them. It doesn't have that spark, right? And you got to get to know your subject, so you get to know them, and then I talk to them and try to get them animated about something that they like. And when they get animated, and then I say to pose, they'll have a really nice look on their face, and that's what I get. You got to get the person, right? It's not enough just to get the structure, at least at this level of work. Excuse me. But from after the pencil sketching and such, I basically I can draw it on charcoal on the board. I'm working on birchwood panels right now on wood. They're more durable. But most of the time, I just go into it with a monochrome, just with a mixture of black and red. And you can do burnt umber, raw sienna. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But I do black and red, just a kind of a warm undertone, and block it in. And I'll have a paper towel in my other hand to kind of erase and wipe out, so I'm getting the drawing. And then from there, I'll take basic values, which are lights and darks. I'll have maybe about 5 colors mixed from dark to light. The light, there is no black in it, right? In the first 3 values, there's no white. So it's just like goes from dark to light. And it's the general color range. I'm not worrying about color so much at this point. And I'll just squint down. And like I said before, a good drawing or a painting has a very nice unified flow of light. You squint down, which unifies everything, and it prevents you from getting all detailed. And you just block in the big basic shapes that you see within the drawing that you made, and continuously correct the drawing and such, and work the portrait up like that. You go from there. And
Yes, yes.
so the pencil drawing and all those the techniques that we learn in pencil drawing will teach you how to approach the painting, which is why it's so important to draw first. So,
Yes. Okay, thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
And now, can you tell us about how you approach a still life? Like, first of all, you compose the whole still life by yourself. That's what I have seen in
Oh,
the
yes,
videos.
definitely. So, I take my time in the setup in the beginning. I essentially, I could take, and that means I could take 2, 3 days in setting it up. I take my time in setting it up. I make sure I have a nice flow of light. In painting, especially in a still life, you have the opportunity to create depth in the work, but it's a two-dimensional surface. And so you have to and you can't clutter it. Oftentimes we clutter things too much. So I'll really work on the composition. I'll have a center object that I really like, a centerpiece. And it doesn't need to be in the center of the painting. It could be a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, or what have you. And then I'll have maybe two other smaller objects, maybe a fourth if I need it. And I honestly, I just keep on switching around till something strikes me, and I'll have, I'll create the space. I'll have one object up here, one back here, maybe one over here. And so it leads the eye around the painting and almost goes back, right? It draws you in. And I'll also use the folds. I like putting lots of cloth in it. The one I'm doing right now is a very intricate pattern design, which I look at it like, that would be cool. And then when I start painting, I'm like, you're an idiot. I can't believe you set this up. This is going to take forever. This is literally what happens every single time. Okay. But it makes you better. It keeps your mind sharp, which makes you better than everybody else. And you can look down upon them.
Absolutely.
Right. So,
I'm also like scared of the patterns. So generally, I
oh, the
the
patterns. Yeah.
drapery which I'm setting up, it's like plain, a
Right.
solid color.
Right.
But
Right.
now I take the advice from you and I'll use some patterns.
Don't take that advice. That's actually horrible advice that I gave you. Do not do pattern cloth, especially look, if you're first starting, what I recommend is do a darker cloth and just I don't know how far along you are in your work yet, but you want to like essentially at the Florence Academy of Art, the teachers made us do a pair, just a pair. And you did one pair, like, and it would take a week or so because the pairs perish over time. They wilt, they die. Kind of like your will to accomplish a painting during the course of the painting. It kind of dies after a while, but that's another thing. But the pair, we do a week painting and then we do a day painting of it and then we do one out of real life, and that's our introduction. Uh, um, I'm sorry, we do one out of our imagination. That's the final one. So we do three drawings. But I would recommend just having if you're first starting, just simple cloth, maybe dark background, maybe make it a dark brown or a dark green or something with color. But when you squint down, the object that you have has light shining up on it. It's beautiful. Those paintings, I mean, there's something to be said about simplicity, and the more of the simplistic works with the beautiful brushwork and the light effects and such. And um, so, yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
Don't follow my advice. Do not follow my advice about doing pattern cloth. Don't do it for your own
All right.
sanity. Okay.
All right, I'll start with
Later on,
basic
maybe.
stuff first. Yeah,
Good.
absolutely. So you also paint religious subjects.
Yes.
So how do you plan those? Because those are from your imagination mainly.
Yeah. Those, um, I'll research them theologically oftentimes. And if it's for a church, if oftentimes the priest or whoever's commissioning them they'll have an idea and I'll work with them with an idea and such. But in in religious work, when you're doing a Jesus or a Mary, it's not enough just to have a a guy who looks like Jesus, right? It could be a hippie, right? Somebody sees a guy with long hair and a beard, they're like, that could be Jesus, but it could also be a hippie, right? You have to get the feel, the countenance of him. And so oftentimes sometimes it's a little bit more generalized than realistic. So you have to kind of tweak that. That's a little bit advanced work, and it's very difficult to do. And I haven't done it successfully before. I've oftentimes though given people what they like. When I had a commission to do a couple paintings of Mary for this one gentleman's family, and he liked the model that I was using, so I used this woman for the model, and he liked the paintings, but it wasn't necessary. It didn't really look like Mary, but it was Mary. You could say that's Mary, but it didn't have her countenance, her feeling, if that makes sense. And other paintings do. You just have to, I mean, prayer is a big thing too. And I'm not saying like spend all 24/7 in it, but it's very good to be open to that. And that does help, and it'll give you some ideas and push your work forward that much more. So.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So now let's get on the mentor side of
Yes.
you, the teacher side. So, like,
Yeah.
apart from YouTube, like, which is a platform where you teach, and like, so you also teach like students apart from YouTube, like in your,
So I do, and I used to teach at the Florence Academy of Art as a student teacher in my second, third, and fourth year. But right now I have essentially two students, and well, one of them is now my studio mate. I've been working with her for some time, and she's doing very, very good on her own. She's thinking of starting her own YouTube channel, and which is going to be nice. She's still working on painting. She's behind me, obviously, but because my brain's so big, it's impossible to catch up with this. But my other student just started with me, and I'm basically teaching him once a week. And aside from that, I've started streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time here, and with the intention of teaching, just showing people my work. Yeah.
yes,
So it's
yes.
something I enjoy
So
doing.
right now you're streaming. I think you're streaming still life, which you're working on right now, because I have
Yes,
attended
that
some
was
streams.
I've done that the last two streams.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, you're a very experienced artist. So,
Yeah.
what would you advise people like me or the beginner artist?
Yeah.
How should we practice?
How should you practice? The first thing you have to do is get really good at drawing and learn. If you want to go into academic work, study Charles Bargue and learn that course. Start with Bargue drawings and really take them serious. Now, Bargue drawings, have you heard of Bargue drawings before?
Yes, yes, yes.
They're horrible. They're boring. Okay. They can be. Now, some people enjoy them because
Yes.
they have mental disorders. Okay. They're crazy, but they're very beneficial. They'll teach you the basics, and I'll be teaching that too. And in fact, my video that's coming up on figure drawing, it's incorporating the same lessons and techniques in. I'm going to do my best to. It's going to be a 3-part series. The first one's going to be the basic block in, and I really recommend, if you really are serious about academic work, drawing and painting, learn to slow yourself down and simplify the drawing and keep it in a simple stage for a week, an inordinate amount of time, like a long time in the beginning. It's not always going to be like that. You'll fly through it later on, but in the beginning, I think it's very important to stay in a very simple, just straight lines and such. Just keep it in that stage for a couple days to a week or so. I'm working on it 2-3 hours a day, the drawing, whatever you're working on. And when you're doing that, you're not just sitting there staring at it. You're trying to look at the proportions, train your mind to see the proportions in its simple stages without making it complex. Oftentimes we make things complex and we detail because we think, oh, well, this is how we make it look that way. And you got to get that out of your head. That's why I recommend, a couple of days to a week of doing that. So that's where you start, just very basic, simple, do the pencil drawing and really take that serious for a year, 2 years. And from there, you'll have a good stepping block to get to painting. And in the end, 2 years when you're young, even when you're older, because people can paint as long as they have a healthy mind until they're 80, 90 years old. So yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I was aware that you were going to pay emphasis on drawing because that's very much evident from your YouTube channel and as well as the conversation that we have
Right.
had.
Right.
So can you like elaborate on the importance of drawing, like in
Oh yeah.
creating the foundation of an artist?
It's the bread and butter. The pencil drawing is the bread and butter of work. And I would say specifically figure drawing, the nude model. And when I say nude model, it's good to do the quick poses, the gestural drawings, but I would recommend finding classes out there that have them. I mean, ideally, you're working on them almost every single day, 2 to 3 hours at a time, and having a nude model up there that is a long pose, right? Essentially, what that is for about 3 hours, the model is standing, but they have breaks. It's 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, and then a 15-minute break about halfway through. And I'd recommend just constantly doing those pencil drawings. Start out with the bar drawings, and from there you transition into charcoal drawing. So it's not always going to be pencil drawing, and uh, just as much drawing as you possibly can. But here's the thing. You can draw 24/7, but if you need to be on the right path, it's all about being on the right path, right? Because if you're not on the right track, if you're not on the right path, then you're going to develop bad habits that you're going to have to break later on. And sometimes that can be very difficult the longer you hold those habits. So this is so important. And that's at the Florence Academy, they were big on keeping you on the path. It was even at the school when you're surrounded by teachers, all of us were doing stupid things, right? They couldn't stop the stupid. It was too powerful, right? But they kept us on the path. And so one of the great things about today is you have people like myself, but who are more advanced in YouTube right now, who do the Florence Academy type teaching, the bar drawings, and they have, whether it's streams or videos or what have you. I think it's very difficult as a student at first to be able to discern, to be able to figure out where to go with this stuff. But I think if you're striving for the academic, most of the academic teachers will say pretty much the same thing, and you'll be able to follow those teachers and get on the right path. So that's an advantage that we have today that we didn't have, 15, 20 years ago when I first started studying.
Yes,
Right.
yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that.
No
So,
problem.
like you do a lot of live studies,
Yes.
you like to work from life.
Yes.
So, how do you work from life? Like, what are the things that you keep in mind while working from life? Because it's very much different from
Oh
photographs.
yeah. You have
Yeah.
to learn to dance with the model. You have to be able to look at the model and say, okay, it moves. It. It's not a human. It moved. There was one. Sorry, this is off the topic. It reminds me. There was this one gentleman in class. He was just so mean. I liked him. I got along with him, but he was mean, and nobody else did. Anyway, we had a nude model up, and when you're nude, I guess there's a degree of vulnerability, right? Like if you're nude up there, you're trying to, you know, really do good work. And the woman's trying, she did good, but this gentleman was on the side, and you can really see the side rotations. Like if the model moves, there's a real difference. Whereas here, you can see it some, but not as much, right?
Yeah.
Straightforward. Anyway, a minute in, he's like, she moved, like it's over. We're like, who cares, man? It's 1 minute in. You move with the pose, right? So it's learning to move with the pose. It's learning to look at the pose and be like, I know I set it up in this position, but you're always in your mind looking for a better pose because you might have missed something, right? Somebody's standing. If you get somebody in a pose, for example, like this, they're in that pose. But after a while, after a while, they might sink in and it might look a little bit more natural, right? And you're like, that's what I want. And you can't always say, okay, get back in the position, right? It's good to know artistically, so you can make artistic decisions in academic work. And they encouraged us to do this even at the Florence Academy when we were students. So that's one of the big things. And understanding too that you have, like I said before, the option to walk up and look at the model from all sides because I know it's two-dimensional, but if you want it to look three-dimensional, sculptural, you need to understand that it's not just a line you're drawing down the side like the contour. The contour is simply planes going facing us this way instead of this way, right? There's
Yes.
planes here, and they're all going at different angles. And the soft and sharp lines that you see on the model have to do with the direction of the plane and the way the light's hitting it and what's behind, all the contrast and all that stuff. It's a combination of all these things. And so you have to understand anatomically what's going on. And the greater understanding you have, the more it's going to come out in your work, the more realistic it's going to look, the better it'll be. Right.
Yes, yes,
So,
absolutely. So, you are a freelancer artist,
yes.
am I right? Yes.
Yes.
So, I would want you to give some advice on freelancing and how to survive as a freelancer artist in
Don't
this
do
world.
it. Don't do it. Don't
No,
do it.
please don't say that.
I'm just kidding. No. Be a doctor. Don't be an artist. Don't follow in my footsteps, okay? I made mistakes, so you don't need to make them. There's my advice. No, you can definitely do it. You want to, the first thing, and it's always this, your technique, it has to be good. All right. You always want to raise the standards. You always want to be better than what is accepted. At least strive to be that. That's number one. Besides that, the way that I've done it, I moved back to my hometown, and you just network. You find at first I had to live at home with my family and just do work and really underprice it, because a lot of people, especially this day and age, did not believe that very realistic paintings could be done. But once you get a couple out there, once you sell them for 1,000 when they're worth like 5,000, 6,000 or something. Once you get a couple paintings out there, sometimes it takes a while, but people start talking, and you have your web page up, and especially now you have Instagram. So I always encourage posting what you do, the process and such. And these are all things that I could do better. It's stuff that you have to go into this as it is a job, but not like, oh, it's a job. This is horrible. Not like that. Be enthusiastic, but you have to treat it as work. It is work, and you're a small business owner. You have to be receptive to that. So, I know a lawyer who helped get a painting into the courthouse, which led to two other pieces, right? And the same with getting pieces in the hospital. I will say it is always better. See, a lot of people send letters out to hospitals or law firms or big organizations, which is fine to do, and that's a great practice to have. But you have to understand, those places get hundreds of letters every week from artists who are trying to get them work, and so they don't even look at it. I got the work because I had people personally vouching for me. When it's personal, it goes much further. So you want to go out and get personal and talk to people, but you don't want to do it in a greedy way. You want to, if you know somebody in a business or this or that, you be serious about the work and be enthusiastic, so they're enthusiastic and they want to promote you, and then take advantage of that. That's the best advice that I can give you with that. Besides that, like you and I were on YouTube. This is a great way to get your work out and to improve yourself at the same time, to open up. And really, it's helped me to learn, especially in the live streams. People ask me questions that I don't know the answers to, like, what book for figure drawing would you recommend? And well, I know the figure drawing. I don't always go and read the books. I'm busy doing work, so I have to now go and research books. So you can grow yourself, and this is a big thing too. But just getting yourself out on social media. But I'll say this, with social media and with YouTube, the danger you will fall into, and you won't even know it, and I think everybody will do it at some point, is that instead of putting stuff out there to show people your work, you're doing the work to show it. And when you do that, it deadens it. It makes it changes it, and then your heart's not in it. You need to do the work and then put it out there. You can't do the work for YouTube. You can't do the work for Instagram. I hope that makes sense. I learned that
Yes, yes,
recently
absolutely.
because I haven't been on that long with YouTube, and I said to myself, I just need a reset, right? So sometimes, and
Yes,
you have to look at yourself honestly, but always improve, and you have to work. You have to spend your time doing this stuff. It's not enough just to want it. A lot of people want things, but you need to like do the work and take it seriously and organize what you're going to do and have a goal. You need to set a goal and a direction. Otherwise, you're going to be all over the place.
yes,
So,
yes, absolutely.
and have confidence.
Uh,
Like you have to say, look, this is good painting. This is a good painting. This is the price, and don't underprice it because people, if you underprice the work, oftentimes they won't want it. If you charge more for it, they'll think there's value to this. You have to be confident with that.
yes,
So,
yes. You need to know your own worth first.
yes, exactly.
Yes, absolutely. So, at last, I would want you to recommend some books on painting
Oh
and drawing.
goodness. I some books on painting. I
All
don't
right, not if not books, some artists that you would recommend us to
I'll
follow up.
recommend the artists because those books
Yeah.
on paintings, like I said, I just started getting the live stream. I've been getting those questions and I'm looking into it, but I'm not an authority on that yet. I will say from what I've been talking about, the Charles Barg drawing course book, that's a must have for any academic painter. Okay. I love Velasquez, just any book on him. Bouguereau, uh, he's my favorite painter. Bouguereau is some people say Bouguereau. Pretty sure it's Bouguereau, and since I'm never wrong, it's Bouguereau. So Bouguereau is his work. He can be very painterly, very loose, but he's very accurate, and he can be very fine but graceful. His line quality is. If you don't think that you can do lines in painting, if you don't think there's line quality in painting, just go and view one of his paintings in person. They're amazing. They're absolutely. I think he's one of the best painters that ever lived, and he did a huge amount of work. And he had a very hard life too. He had a lot of sad things happen. That's when he did his best work, which is kind of depressing, but nonetheless, that's what happened. But I love William Waterhouse as well, the pre-Raphaelites.
Yes.
Any painter, most of the painters in the 1800s, I would say, especially the mid to later 1800s, they're just awesome. Early 1900s, I'm not a big fan of Degas and those guys. I mean, uh, it's not my cup of tea. So
All right. Thank you so much, Luis, for being
yeah,
here, and you were an
Vashika,
absolute pleasure.
thank you,
At
Vashika.
last,
Likewise.
yeah, yeah. At last, any thoughts that you would want to leave with the audience?
Yeah, this stuff can totally be done. The reason why I'm doing this, and the reason why I'm doing this is to show you guys that this can be done. It might feel like something that's insurmountable. I'm I'm doing my best to make these videos, and there's better videos out there for this stuff that are more organized, and I'm gonna try to get my videos up in that same just information that you is just more crystal clear and concise. I make them funny too, and this is very important because we take ourselves too serious sometimes, and you have to laugh. And the mind is something that helps artists go. Like you need the techniques and the knowledge, but you also have to be able to laugh at yourself and laugh at things. And this day and age, people are too afraid to say anything funny because it offends somebody, and you got to get past that and not be a jerk about it. But I'm trying to make these videos for you guys, and and there's all this information out there. Just be sure that whatever path you get on, you stick to. Even within the academic world, you'll have different variances of how to go about doing something, and that's fine. But for the sake of your sanity, you just need to choose one, and you'll have more progress if you stick to one method going forward. And then later on, when you learn that, 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, you can try a different method and add to that. But when you're when you're young at painting, just keep it simple and just learn well what you're doing. And it can totally be done. I want to help, and I'll be trying to get. I'm trying to make all my stuff as accessible as I can. And Vanshika, I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you. It was really nice speaking with you, and I enjoyed answering your questions. They
Thank
were
you.
very good questions. Very good.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you
Yeah.
because I'm like, you can say I'm a huge fan of yours.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice of you.
Yeah. I really look up to you.
Oh no, don't
Anyway.
do that. Bad move.
No, no, your work.
Yeah,
I love your
there
work.
you go. The work, the work. There.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't look up to me? Just kidding.
No.
Awesome. Good, good. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast because I did, to be honest. I really enjoyed this podcast. This was episode 2, and I feel it was amazing. And I learned a lot from him. And I hope that you guys have also learned a lot and you will implement these things which he has told in your own career, in your own life as well. And the right guidance is going to take you a long way through your career. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please do like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel, and also to Louis' channel and his website. I'll link all the social media links of Louis's YouTube channel, his Instagram, his website, everything, and even mine as well. So please consider following us and subscribing to his YouTube channel and mine as well. And with that note, let's end this podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.